I'm seeing double. 4 printers? What the? What the hell is going on? This is the Canon Pro-1000. I've had this printer for a while. This is the Pro-1100. It's the updated version. Come on. And this is Wyatt. I've had him for a while too. This is Millie. She's the updated version. She's also deaf. Yeah. All right, let's get out of here. All right. Now, if you follow my channel, you know I don't do sponsored videos. But in the interest of full disclosure, I will say Canon gave me this Pro-1100. No strings attached though. There is no obligation to make a video or give a glowing review of it or anything like that. I think it was more a thank you for the video I made about the Pro-1000 a little while back. So just realize anything I say about the 1100 in this video, it's coming from the heart. I've been using the Pro-1000 for a little over a year and a half, the 1100 for about 6 months. And I can say confidently that the results I get out of the 1000 easily match or exceed half a dozen Pro labs I've tried in the area. And the 1100 is an upgrade. Now these printers share many of the same features, like borderless printing up to 17 by 22 inches. Both also have anti-clogging technology, which is where ink ejection conditions are precisely checked with sensors, and if a clog is detected, another nozzle automatically provides backup, preventing wasted prints due to clogging and reducing the frequency of nozzle cleaning. It's a really good feature. In the year and a half I've had the Pro-1000, I actually haven't had to do a single nozzle cleaning. Both printers have an air feeding system. That's where there's a vacuum built into the printer that actually sucks the paper down flat to improve ink droplet accuracy. And both printers have anti-skewing, which is a pretty cool feature. That's where if the paper gets fed into the printer at a little bit of an angle, the printer can detect that and actually straighten it out before it sends it through. So many of the same features, and in fact, both of these printers share nearly identical specifications. They're both 17-inch wide printers. That's the maximum paper width. They're the same physical size at 28.5 inches by 11.2 by 17.1 with all the trays closed. They weigh the same at 71.4 pounds, which, fun fact, is only a little less than me freshman year of high school. They have the same connectivity options like Ethernet, which I use, Wi-Fi, which I stopped using because it was causing problems with my big prints. I know it's convenient printing via Wi-Fi, but don't do it on big prints. It causes problems. And finally, USB Type B? Huh, it's an interesting choice in 2025. And they both use the same maintenance tanks, which I think are only like 15 bucks. Both of these printers utilize 11 inks, including the usual cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, some of which have both a version for gloss paper and for matte paper, plus red, blue, and gray inks. So they use the same inks. Although they're very much not the same inks, because the Pro-1000 uses Canon's Lucia Pro ink set, while the 1100 uses Canon's newer Lucia Pro 2 ink set. This is a very important distinction that we're going to come back to. Those inks are the same price, last I checked, which happens to be very expensive. But good news is they last a lot longer than you might think. I've been pleasantly surprised at how infrequently I've had to buy new inks for my Pro-1000 over the last year and a half. Both printers also utilize a CO cartridge. That stands for Chroma Optimizer. So let me explain what Chroma Optimizer does. Now on any inkjet printer, this problem can arise whenever you print on a paper that has some degree of gloss to it. So that of course would be your glossy papers, but also your semi-gloss and your luster. And that problem is known as gloss differential. And the issue is different parts of your image have different amounts of ink laid down. So the shadows and the colors have a lot of ink, whereas the highlights have very little. And because the ink has a different glossiness to it than the paper itself, that creates variances in the gloss. Like these photos of Sweet Angel Mills on luster paper, you can see that her bright white fur has a different glossiness to it than the shadowed and colorful areas. Gloss differential is one of the biggest reasons I resisted inkjet printing for as long as I did. And anytime I wanted to print on some sort of glossy paper, I would opt for a C print at a professional lab. Those don't have a problem with gloss differential, partly because they don't use ink. But gloss differential looks terrible. Canon sought to solve this problem, as well as another problem called bronzing. That's where areas of a lot of ink, like the shadows, can kind of take on a bronze look. They look almost metallic, but not in a good way. And the solution is simple, but pretty smart. Chroma Optimizer is basically clear ink. It's a clear coat. So the printer will apply a clear coat over the entire image, thus evening out that gloss differential. I don't think I would ever own a printer that didn't have Chroma Optimizer or some equivalent, because Chroma Optimizer takes your glossy and luster prints from cheap, crappy inkjet print up to professional grade, true photographic print. Super valuable. And both of these printers have Chroma Optimizer. So as you can see, these printers have a lot of similarities. But let's look at the differences. Starting with the most obvious. It's gray. Ew. Everybody loves black. It looks good in every decor, every studio. It screams professional, especially with that red pinstripe. It just looks nice. So why they went with a gray this time around, and even worse, a bluish gray, is beyond me. We're reaching the end of the gray era. You know, the 70s and 80s were the brown era. The past 10 years have been like the gray era. Everything's gray. So I just wish they kept it black. But I digress. Let's move on to important differences. Starting with maximum print length. So the Pro-1000 can print pretty damn long at 47.2 inches. That's been hugely beneficial to me because I do a lot of panoramic photography, and that maximum length has allowed me to make 15 by 45 inch prints, which is a size I just happen to love for my 6 by 17 negatives. Sure, you gotta cut the paper ahead of time from a roll because there's no roll feed on this printer, but that's no big deal. You just get the right tools for it. Now the Pro-1100, it can print up to 47.2 inches. In fact, it can print a little longer than that. The maximum print length on the 1100 is 129 inches. That's over 10 feet long. And another fun fact, that's only 7 inches shy of the width of my office. Now, will I ever need to print 129 inches long? Probably not. But am I gonna try? How the F am I gonna do this? This is insane. What am I doing? Oh, it's so much ink. Stay tuned to the end. Now let's talk about those new inks. Realize first that the inks aren't swappable. Maybe they could be. I don't know if that equipment could handle the new inks or not, but either way, Canon doesn't want you to, so you can't. And so these new Canon Lucia Pro 2 inks make a pretty bold claim. They claim enhanced black density on matte finish prints. Gloss and luster prints have no problem with black density. They're already deep and rich. Matte paper, not so much. And in fact, it's not even really the fault of the inks. It's a problem with physics. If you want to know why glossy photos seem to always look richer, contrastier with deeper blacks, check out the video I made called Why Glossy Photos Look Better. So Canon can't really get around physics, but they do claim that this new ink formulation has maybe at least closed the gap a little bit. Per B&H, the new matte black ink formula improves black density and achieves deeper black expression, which is ironic considering the new color of the printer. Maybe they thought those deeper blacks would look even deeper coming out of a gray printer. Canon claims enhanced color reproduction in dark areas and improved reproducibility in blue dark areas for a wider gamut. Are those claims true? Well, I guess there's really only one way to find out, isn't there? So I'm going to be printing this photo on both printers to see how they compare. This will be the perfect shot for it because it has a lot of black tones and deep dark blues. The paper will be Ilford Smooth Cotton Rag, a true matte finish fiber-based paper. So this is exactly the type of print that should benefit from Canon's reformulated inks. Let's see if it works. I used the same file for both prints, making sure to apply the correct ICC printer profile in each case. And just for shits and gigs, I put a stopwatch on them to see if one was faster. The Pro-1100 was indeed about 20% faster, but one print isn't enough to confirm speed differences. It's also not enough to back up everything I'm about to say on the inks. That's why I repeated this test on different papers with different photos. Every time, the Pro-1100 was faster, sometimes by a lot, sometimes barely. The gap seemed to narrow at higher print quality settings. But how about the inks? Do they look better? Well, here's my summary, knowing full well that what I'm about to describe is unlikely to translate visually to a YouTube video. You may just have to take my word on what I say here. Canon claims improved blue-dark areas. These prints 100% confirm that. Dark blues are deeper and richer, and are a more correct shade of blue. Like on my Pro-1000, the dark blues often shift a tiny bit greenish. The Pro-1100 blues don't. They're more true to the photo. The next claim, improved color reproduction in dark areas. I'm happy to confirm this one too, and it is, in my opinion, the most noticeable and welcome improvement with these inks. The really dark areas on the Pro-1100 just look more color accurate. And it's not that the Pro-1000 has poor shadow rendition. It most certainly doesn't. It's just that the Pro-1100 is that much better. Whereas the 1000 might render a deep dark shadow slightly too red or a tiny bit too blue, the 1100 doesn't. All right, let's talk about that improved black density. Is the matte black ink actually darker? Yeah. I mean, it's not earth-shattering in person, but it is a deeper black. It's pretty cool. Again, Canon's fighting physics on this one. Black can only look so black on matte paper, but sure enough, they've inched their way closer to a gloss black. A very welcome improvement for matte paper dudes like myself. Now, to be clear, Canon makes no claim of more shadow detail. That's really more a function of image adjustments, not ink, but the shadows do look different. And it's far more complex than simply is there more detail there. In a single word, the shadows just look better. There's more contrast within the shadows, better separation between similar dark tones, crispier texture, more accurate color, less muddiness. Overall, the shadows are what I would call cleaner. Another welcome improvement. So I wouldn't say any of these improvements on the 1100 are big enough to throw out your Pro-1000, but they definitely aren't just BS marketing claims. The improvements are marginal over an already fantastic printer. But I can't deny that these new matte inks are noticeably better. And keep in mind, I haven't done these side-by-side tests with glossy or luster papers, but there's far less room for improvement there anyway. Oh, and Canon claims the new inks have improved scratch resistance. Sure doesn't seem like it to me on these fiber-based papers, but judging by the original Canon press release, it seems like that claim might be more about gloss papers. So with the ink claims more or less confirmed, it was time to see if this bad boy could really spit out a 129-inch long print. Only problem is I don't have any photos I can print that big without having to majorly crop off the top and bottom. Besides, I was looking for an excuse to spend a day in the desert. The weather forecast for Anza Borrego showed a pleasant high temperature of 82 degrees. The forecast was wrong. No wonder I had the whole place to myself. The assignment for the day? Find something I could print obnoxiously big. I'd be using my GW692 loaded up with 35mm film to create some panos. As wide as a single frame from this camera may be, it wouldn't be enough to fill 10 feet of paper. But several of them strung together? That should do it. I'm no stranger to triptychs, but this would need a little more. That's right, folks. I'd be going for the rare quadriptych. It's like a triptych, but one better. Now, because this setup exposes image over the sprocket holes, I figure I'd use that to link the photos into one cohesive piece, so it wasn't just 4 random photos mashed together pretending to be one long one. That meant I'd need to shoot 4 frames in order, always left to right, no mixing and matching later. I started with Kodak Gold 200, and I found out pretty quick it's kind of hard to nail a solid, well-balanced composition when it's spread across 4 frames like this, at least for me. So some of these will be mediocre at best, like this one. Some of you may disagree though, and will say all of them are mediocre. But that's okay. I had all day to get heat stroke and some worthwhile photos. Now, as you enjoy the beauty of this California desert, now's a good time to tell you that I'm making an online course all about color management and printing. Everything from ICC profiles to monitor calibration to paper choice and printer settings. It's going to be a very thorough course, and I'm hoping to have that out this fall. Maybe winter. If you want to be notified of when that course is ready, you can join the mailing list, linked in the description, or scan the QR code on your screen. Monthly contributors, previous students, and members of that email list will get early access and a special discounted price before I launch it to the broad public. And one more thing, I put out a 25-minute instructional video a little while back showing my process for soft proofing prints. It's a pay what you want kind of deal of just $5 or more, and I've been getting great reviews on it. So if you need some help with getting an accurate preview of your print before you waste paper, check out the link in the description. So with a roll of color film under my belt, I switched to black and white on Kodak Tri-X. I normally go for the usual contrasty look with Tri-X, but I decided to lean softer with a slight warm tone on these scans. I think the high contrast of the desert light, along with all the black sprocket holes, was just a little too much. And this makes kind of an old-timey look that I dig. The perfect springtime depths of hell weather was getting to me, so I took a break to strike an important to-do item off my list. Enjoy a cold one in the quiet solitude of the American West.
This is nice.
Batteries recharged, I knocked out a more disjointed quadriptych with 4 separate independent compositions. I don't hate it, but I think maybe it's a little too disjointed. So I went back to the old stitched side-by-side scheme. Not terrible, but by this point I was feeling about tapped out on desert scenery. I needed some buildings or something to re-spark my interest. The Salton Sea being only 15 minutes away, I decided to hit up West Shores. Podunk desert towns like these are always good fodder for some hipster sprocket hole photography. No stitched panos though. I started with a quadriptych highlighting some buildings and billboards that caught my eye. Then I went crazy. Bonkers, absolutely unhinged, with a freaking pentaptych. That's right, 5 pictures side by side. I'm a madman. Just some cute little scenes in the mailboxes in this unique town. I even got a self-portrait of sorts in there. So, which of these photos am I going to print way bigger than should ever be printed? Well, the only one I haven't shown you yet, of course. This is from my first roll of gold, and I know it's kind of just a garden variety straightforward landscape pano, but hey, that's fine with me. I'm only doing this for the video anyway. How the F am I going to do this? My garage is not exactly the cleanest environment to prep a sheet of printer paper, but I did my best to remove the sawdust and daddy longleg carcasses. For this, I went with Hahnemühle luster paper in no small part because I had about 90 feet of it laying around. But it's also a great paper for this insanity because resin-coated papers like this are much tougher than fiber papers like PhotoRag. It's also $1.27 a foot compared to PhotoRag's $4.44.
And you. Ooh. I am definitely exceeding the weight limit of this little IKEA cart. That's a lot of exclamation points. Shit. Okay, I think that'll work. I have the box setting on a roll of paper back here. I think I can just feed it up and over. Yeah, should work. Right? Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do the manual feed. Yeah, that's better. Doesn't support a roll feed? I beg to differ. Hold on to your butts. I can see some sprocket holes. This feeding technique is working like a freaking charm. Come here. Come on. Dude, this looks freaking cool. Maybe I'm just excited because it's big, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Basically just open the faucet on the black ink. I really hope it makes it through. Still lots of exclamation points, but none of them are red. So I think we'll be all right for now. And that's halfway, baby. Ink don't fail me now. No. Really starting to sink in, you know what I mean? Woo, we're reaching the home stretch. No lines, no ink issues. I think the tanks will hold. Honestly, if the ink ran out on the last inch, I wouldn't even be mad because it'd be so damn funny. But I'd rather that not happen. This almost looks like a modern art installation. It's called Desperate YouTuber. Oh, buddy, it's reaching the end, I think. Come on, let's hear that click. Yeah! Ink all the way to the end. This is insane. Now what? I need bigger walls. This is also nice. So, total print time, 30 minutes, 19 seconds. And this print's only 128 inches, only. The printer can handle 129, but I just found one more inch to be really intimidating. That's what she said. And the photo itself is 124 inches. I wanted to make sure there was a big beefy border so, I could handle this massive thing. It's also what she said. Now, does the ability to print this big have any real-world practical application for the average photographer? You know, but I appreciate Canon removing barriers. And I really appreciate the new inks. The better shadow rendition and the deeper matte black ink is much appreciated for this dusk-obsessed photographer. So I think I'll keep the printer. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this stupid thing. Sure had fun making it though. And I hope you had fun watching me do it. That's also what she... Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
If you're thinking of buying a Pro-1100, please consider using the affiliate links in the description.